I'll never forget the moment my own father laughed at me in front of everyone. It was at our family barbecue, the smell of grilled ribs still in the air, the sound of kids playing in the yard, and relatives buzzing around with drinks in their hands. And then, out of nowhere, with a smirk on his face and his beer bottle dangling lazily, my dad shouted loud enough for everyone to hear. "You're old enough to pay rent or get out of my house." The entire yard erupted with laughter. My uncles clapped their hands, my cousins giggled, and my mother didn't even look me in the eye. To them, it was just a joke. But to me, it was humiliation. And right there, in that moment, I swore to myself, they would regret underestimating me. I grew up in a family where I was the quiet one, the one who always kept her head down, the one who everyone believed would never make it far. My brother, Mark, was the golden child. My parents worshipped him. He got the best schools, the best clothes, and the loudest praises at every family gathering. Me? I was the one who worked double shifts to help my parents pay bills, even when I didn't have to. I picked up groceries when they were broke. I helped pay my younger cousins' tuition when no one else stepped up. But in my parents' eyes, that wasn't enough. They always saw me as the dependent one, the one who would never be able to stand on her own. That barbecue night was their final insult. I smiled, pretending I wasn't burning on the inside. Pretending that his words didn't crush me in front of my entire extended family. But inside me, something hardened. They thought I was weak. They thought I had nowhere else to go. They thought I'd always be the girl begging for approval. They were wrong. What they didn't know was that for months I had been quietly building my own life. I had been saving every extra dollar, investing in small projects, and working late nights after my regular job. I had even closed on a small house in my name, but I hadn't told anyone yet. I was waiting for the right moment. And when my dad mocked me publicly, I knew the moment had come. The very next morning, I packed my bags. I didn't make a big announcement. I didn't slam doors or scream. I just folded my clothes, boxed up my books, and carried my life out of their house while they were still asleep. I left my house key on the kitchen counter. When my mother came downstairs and saw me wheeling my last suitcase to the door, she frowned. "Where do you think you're going?" she asked. I smiled. For the first time in years, I truly smiled. Dad said I was old enough to pay rent or get out. So, I'm getting out. She opened her mouth, but before she could speak, I shut the door behind me. By noon, I was standing in front of my own house. Not a rented apartment. Not a room share. A real house. 2 bedrooms, a little yard, and my name alone on the deed. I breathed deeply, feeling free for the first time in my life. That night, while they were probably still laughing about my humiliation, I was hanging up curtains, arranging my new furniture, and unlocking a freedom they never thought I could afford. But my revenge hadn't even started yet. The following weekend, they called me to join another family gathering. My mother insisted I come. I think she expected me to crawl back and beg for forgiveness. I arrived late on purpose. When I walked in, everyone was seated around the long wooden table in the backyard, laughing and drinking. My dad looked at me, smirked, and said, "Ah, look who decided to show up. Did you finally bring your rent money?" The table erupted again in laughter. But this time, I didn't flinch. I pulled out my phone, tapped a few buttons, and projected a picture of my new house onto the TV in the living room. The whole family turned to look. "That's my house," I said, my voice calm but sharp. "I moved out yesterday. And from today onward, I won't be paying a single bill in this house. Not electricity. Not water. Not groceries. Nothing. The laughter stopped instantly. My dad's smirk faded. My mother's glass slipped from her hand. My brother Mark's jaw tightened. I looked each of them in the eye and said slowly, since I've been old enough, I've been carrying this family. You all just never noticed. But now, you're on your own. The silence that followed was the sweetest sound I had ever heard. At first, they thought I was bluffing. They didn't realize how much I had been contributing all along. The water bill? I had been paying it for months. Groceries? I bought most of them. The mortgage payments? My mother didn't know, but I had quietly been sending money to cover late fees so the house wouldn't go into foreclosure. Without me, their perfect little world began to crack. 2 weeks later, my dad called me. His voice was softer than usual. Hey, kiddo, listen, the electricity bill came in, and, your mother forgot to pay it. Do you think you could? No, Dad, I cut him off. I told you. I'm done. There was silence. Then he hung up. Another week passed, and I heard from my cousin that my parents had started arguing daily. My mother blamed my father for driving me away, and my father blamed me for being ungrateful. Meanwhile, I was thriving in my new house. I decorated each room with things I loved, things I never had growing up. I invited friends over. I cooked meals without being mocked. For the first time, I felt alive. But the revenge still wasn't complete. A month later, I received a frantic call from my brother Mark. Where are you? He demanded. At home, I said calmly. You need to come right now. The bank is after Dad. The mortgage is 3 months overdue. They're threatening to take the house. I almost laughed. Because wasn't that the same house my father had stood in and laughed at me for not paying rent? I remembered the barbecue. I remembered his smirk. And now here he was, on the verge of losing the house entirely. I decided to go. Not to help. But to watch. When I arrived, the house looked different. Darker. Weeds had grown in the yard. The laughter that used to echo through the walls was gone. My parents sat at the table, pale and broken. Please, my mother said, tears in her eyes. We didn't realize how much you were doing for us. We need you. Just this once, help us. I looked at them, feeling the sting of years of neglect, humiliation, and disrespect. And then I said the words I had dreamed of saying all my life. No. They begged. They cried. My father even dropped to his knees at one point, his pride shattered into pieces. But I didn't budge. You wanted me out, I reminded him. You wanted me to stop being a burden. Well, here we are. You're free of me. And I'm free of you. The house they had mocked me in was slipping through their fingers, and there was nothing they could do. The following month, the bank repossessed the property. My parents had to move into a small apartment across town. My brother Mark, who had always been coddled, was forced to get a second job. And me? I thrived. I expanded my side projects into a full business. I traveled. I lived in peace. And every time I passed by that old house, I smiled. Because my revenge wasn't about shouting or fighting. It was about showing them that the girl they underestimated could not only stand on her own, but could also let them drown in the emptiness they created. Looking back now, I realized that barbecue night was the best thing that ever happened to me. If my father hadn't humiliated me, I might have stayed in that toxic house forever, paying their bills, carrying their burdens, and never discovering my own strength. But his cruelty became my fuel. His mockery became my motivation. And the sweetest part of it all? I never had to raise my voice. I never had to fight. I simply walked away, and let their own arrogance destroy them. So yes, my father was right in one way. I was old enough. Old enough to take care of myself. Old enough to stop being their crutch. Old enough to finally live. And old enough to never look back. The end.